Bonjour! Welcome to Rambo Loves History. I am your favorite French bulldog that takes you through mind-blowing history with style. This is Europe, and here's France. Now, I'm Rambo, and as a French dog, I might be a little biased. But hear me out. France wasn't shaped by geography or resources or lucky breaks. France was shaped by the most dramatic, impossible, larger-than-life personalities you've ever heard of. People so bold, so crazy, so brilliant that they didn't just change France, they changed the world. Let's meet them. We'll start way back with the Gauls. Not exactly one person, but these Celtic warriors had personality to spare. They fought naked, yes, naked. Painted themselves blue, screamed into battle, and in 387 BC they sacked Rome itself. The Romans never forgot it. The Gauls were fierce, proud, and completely uninterested in organization, which is why when Julius Caesar showed up in 58 BC, he crushed them tribe by tribe. But one Gaul stood up, Vercingetorix, chief of the Arverni tribe, flowing hair, incredible horseman, and the first guy to actually unite the Gallic tribes against Rome. He won battles, he made Caesar sweat, but at the siege of Alesia he was surrounded, and instead of watching his people starve, he rode out and surrendered himself to Caesar. Noble? Sure. Effective? Not really. Caesar paraded him through Rome and had him executed. But Vercingetorix became the first French national hero, a symbol that even in defeat, you can have style. Fast forward through Roman rule, Germanic invasions, and a parade of long-haired Frankish kings until we get to Charlemagne. Now this is a personality. Crowned emperor in 800 AD, he united most of Western Europe, spread Christianity with one hand and a sword in the other, and couldn't read until he was an adult, but still promoted education and scholarship across his empire. He was called the Father of Europe, and honestly, he earned it. Problem was, his heirs couldn't hold it together and the empire split. Centuries roll by. Knights, castles, crusades. Then England and France start the 100 Years' War in 1337, and things look bad for France. The English are winning. The French king, Charles VI, has gone insane. He thinks he's made of glass and will shatter if touched. Actually believes this. Not great during a war. Then a teenage peasant girl from Lorraine hears voices. Saints, she says, telling her to save France. Her name is Joan of Arc. She's 17, and somehow she convinces the French commanders to let her lead. She shows up at the siege of Orleans in armor, holding a banner, and the French troops go wild. They win. She keeps winning. French morale skyrockets. Of course, she's eventually captured by the Burgundians, sold to the English, and burned at the stake for heresy at 19 years old. But too late. She'd already changed everything. France won the war. Joan became a saint, and she remains the most iconic French figure in history, which is saying something in a country full of icons. Skip ahead to the 1600s. Louis XIV, the Sun King. If you think France is dramatic now, you should have seen it under this guy. He built Versailles, a palace so obscenely luxurious it basically screamed, "I'm better than you," to every other European monarch. He made the nobility move there so he could watch them. He wore high heels, massive wigs, and threw parties that cost fortunes. He also centralized absolute power, saying, "L'État, c'est moi. I am the state," and he was. France became the most powerful nation in Europe under Louis culturally and militarily. His reign was the definition of grandeur. Also bankruptcy, but mostly grandeur. Then we get to the Enlightenment thinkers. Voltaire, Rousseau, Montesquieu, guys who used wit and reason to challenge everything. The church, the monarchy, tradition itself. Voltaire spent time in the Bastille for mocking the regent, then spent the rest of his life mocking everyone with brilliant, biting satire. Rousseau wrote about the social contract and inspired revolutionary thought across the world. These weren't warriors or kings, they were writers, and they brought down the old order with words. Which brings us to the revolution. 1789. The people have had enough of debt, starvation, and powdered aristocrats. They storm the Bastille, overthrow the monarchy, and behead King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. Things spiral into the Reign of Terror. 17,000 executions, paranoia, chaos. It's too much. France needs order. Enter Napoleon Bonaparte. Short joke aside, he wasn't actually that short. This Corsican artillery officer was a genius. Military genius, administrative genius, ego the size of Europe. He seizes power in 1799, crowns himself emperor in 1804, and proceeds to conquer most of the continent. He wins at Austerlitz, Jena, Wagram, crushing coalition after coalition. He reforms law, education, infrastructure. The Napoleonic Code still influences legal systems today, but Napoleon overreaches. He invades Russia in 1812 with over 600,000 men. He takes Moscow. Then winter comes. No food. Russian attacks. The retreat is a frozen nightmare. His grand army is destroyed. Europe finally defeats him, exiles him to Elba. He escapes, returns for the 100 Days, and loses at Waterloo in 1815. Exiled again, this time to St. Helena in the middle of nowhere, where he dies. But his legend? Immortal. France stumbles through the 19th century. Revolutions, restorations, another Napoleon, wars with Prussia. But in the late 1800s comes La Belle Époque, the beautiful era. This is the France of Monet, Renoir, Degas, of the Eiffel Tower, of cabarets and cafes, and the invention of cinema by the Lumière brothers. This is when France becomes synonymous with art, culture, and joie de vivre. Then World War I hits. Millions dead. Verdun, the Marne, unimaginable loss. But France survives, even thrives for a bit, until World War II, when Germany occupies France in weeks. The official government surrenders, but not everyone. Charles de Gaulle, a tank commander and brigadier general, refuses. He flees to London and declares on the radio, "France has lost a battle, but France has not lost the war." He leads the Free French forces and becomes the symbol of resistance. When France is liberated in 1944, de Gaulle returns. Later, as president, he navigates decolonization, makes France a nuclear power, and defines modern French identity. Proud, independent, and a little difficult. Today, France is one of the wealthiest nations on earth, the most visited country in the world, a permanent UN Security Council member, and a cultural superpower. French wine, French food, French fashion, French film, all global standards. Not bad for a place shaped by naked warriors, a teenage girl with visions, a king who thought he was the sun, a general who conquered Europe, and a stubborn tank commander who wouldn't surrender. What's next for France? Who knows? But if history tells us anything, it'll be dramatic. Comment below what you think. But for now...